French sailors aboard the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier were still focused on their Baltic mission, a calculated show of NATO's strength near Russia's doorstep. Then came the message that changed everything. A drone strike had hit a hangar at France's military installation in Abu Dhabi, located beside an Emirati naval facility. The attack targeted infrastructure near one of the region's most strategic ports. French Defense Minister Catherine Vautrin confirmed the incident on social media, stressing the damage was limited and strictly material. No lives were lost, but the strike carried a weight far beyond the immediate destruction. A hangar at a naval base of ours, bordering the Emirati base, has been damaged during a drone attack targeting Abu Dhabi port, Vautrin stated. The damage, Macron confirmed, was material. No casualties. But the signal was unmistakable. France was now inside the escalation zone. According to regional defense assessments, Iranian retaliation had unfolded with overwhelming speed after coordinated American and Israeli strikes struck deep inside Iran. What followed was unlike previous confrontations. Missile and drone attacks spread across Allied territories, reaching military installations and civilian areas alike. Within hours, Paris issued a decisive order. The Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier was anchored in the port of Malmö, which is on the southern coast of Sweden in the Baltic Sea, and redeployed toward the eastern Mediterranean, steaming purposefully into waters where the USS Gerald R was already on station. The two carriers, now in striking range of the Gulf, formed the backbone of an unprecedented joint naval task force. The mission had changed, from deterrence against Russia to crisis containment in the Middle East. For the French Navy, this was not merely a repositioning, it was a strategic pivot. The carrier group represents France's most powerful projection of force: fighter jets, air defense destroyers, submarines, and electronic warfare capabilities moving as a single floating fortress. Meanwhile, Western unity began to harden. Iran spent the last 8 months getting ready for the B-2 bombers to come back. They rebuilt their stockpiles of solid fuel through covert Chinese supply channels, repaired 19 of their major ballistic missile launch sites that had been destroyed in last year's conflict, and braced themselves for the next confrontation. But then, Operation Epic Fury changed everything. 4 B-2 stealth bombers, launched from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, flying non-stop for 18 hours, and unleashed dozens of 2,000-pound bunker busters across Iran. Not a single warning reached Iranian radar. They had no idea the bombers were already inside their airspace. The 4 B-2 stealth bombers sliced through the night sky like shadows, completely unseen by Iranian radar. Their sleek, angular airframes absorbed and scattered radar waves, while special radar-absorbent coatings made them almost invisible to detection. And the B-2s were only the beginning. F-35s streaked from the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln. Tomahawk missiles rained from U.S. warships, and high-precision strikes from ground assets tore through strategic targets simultaneously. Within the first 12 hours, the U.S. executed over 900 strikes, while Israel added 1,200 more in the following 24. Iran could only watch in stunned disbelief as every critical facility, missile site, and command center was obliterated from every angle, the nation's defenses overwhelmed before they even knew the war had begun. In a rare joint declaration, leaders from France, United Kingdom, and Germany warned that Iran's missile and drone operations endangered both military personnel and civilians across allied nations. The message carried an unmistakable undertone. Defensive action was now on the table, including strikes aimed at eliminating launch capabilities at their source. Behind closed doors, planners faced an even more urgent concern. Out at sea, the carrier group pushed southward through dark waters. Because this crisis was different. American and Israeli strikes had already reshaped the balance. Iran's response had expanded the battlefield beyond any single border. What began as targeted military action was rapidly transforming into a regional standoff involving global powers. And now, France's most formidable warship was sailing directly toward the center of it. The French Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier cut through the restless waves, sliding into formation with the American Titans, the USS Gerald R and the USS Abraham Lincoln. Together, they became a floating fortress of steel and firepower, each vessel bristling with fighter jets, missile interceptors, and electronic warfare systems. The Mediterranean trembled beneath their coordinated might as strikes rained down with precision, more devastating than any adversary could have imagined. Every Iranian launch was met, neutralized, erased before it could reach its target. And somewhere across the globe, Beijing watched closely, calculating every move, every radar signature. The Chinese knew better than to test this unstoppable triad, a force so vast, so synchronized, it seemed to bend the rules of modern naval warfare itself. China spoke with a stern voice, condemning the killing of Iran's supreme leader as a blatant violation of sovereignty and international law. The Foreign Ministry's statement called for an immediate halt to military operations, warning against further escalation and urging the world to safeguard peace in the Middle East. But behind the words lay a stark reality. Beijing knew its threats carried little weight against the combined might of France and the United States. China could watch, issue warnings, but it could not challenge this ocean-spanning fortress of steel and fire. Message was clear. Words could not match the reality of unstoppable military force. The Iranian regime tried to hold the global economy hostage, hoping fear would slow the relentless American onslaught. But the United States made them pay the ultimate price. In a desperate attempt to retaliate, Iran's fractured military went rogue, targeting old tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, hoping to trigger a worldwide energy meltdown. But the gambit backfired spectacularly. In a crushing display of power, U.S. forces responded with surgical precision, annihilating the Iranian Navy. Naval headquarters were obliterated, and 9 massive warships now lie at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. While Tehran's leadership scrambled to survive, American forces were actively hunting down the remaining fleet, leaving Iran's maritime power in ruins in real time. The story of Iran's downfall begins with the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical choke points. Roughly 1/5 of global oil passes through this narrow waterway every single day. For decades, Iran has used it as a trump card, threatening to close it and disrupt the energy markets. On the morning of February 28th, Iran broadcast a warning, claiming the strait was closed to all ships. But the reality was far less intimidating. Satellite data showed traffic continued to flow. Ships moved freely, mocking Tehran's attempt at blackmail, while the U.S. and its allies demonstrated that threats alone could not withstand the weight of true naval dominance. Despite Iran's acquisition of advanced Russian and Chinese air defense systems, including the S-300 and HQ-9B long-range surface-to-air missiles, recent events show these platforms fail spectacularly when it matters most. While the S-300 and Iran's domestic Bavar 373 theoretically offer high-altitude coverage against aircraft, cruise missiles, and certain ballistic threats, and the HQ-9B paired with YLC-8B radars is supposed to enhance detection of distant or low observable targets, operational reality tells a different story. In the face of coordinated strikes by the US, Israel, and now the French carrier group led by Charles de Gaulle, these systems have repeatedly failed to intercept incoming threats, leaving Iran exposed and vulnerable across its strategic installations.